You know, I want to thank FEMA, just for starters, for all they do in working with our city in many ways, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. We have folks here, Councilmember Tretheway, City Manager Ray Kerridge, Nancy Ward. Nancy works for FEMA in the National Flood Insurance Program. She's a regional administrator, and her organization works in partnerships with city officials to make sure that there's sound building practices in floodplains. And what we want to say today is, number one, all of us want to make sure that public safety is our top priority in our community. It's something that we talk about significantly, and are going to do everything that we can to make that a top reality. There was a situation a while back where permits were issued, and we made a mistake in terms of that. We could have done a better job, and that should not have happened. Let me be very clear, that should not have happened. And after getting a letter on February 8th earlier this week, from our administrator here, Nancy Ward, saying that the City of Sacramento needs to take very clear steps to correct the mistakes that we made. It's officially called develop and adopt a corrective action plan. And we need to do that within the next 60 days. Things that would be included in that corrective action plan are things such as elevation, placement on holds when it comes to certificates of occupancies, and placements of stop work orders for non-completed work. All these things are guidelines that we need to consider in the next 60 days. I think it's very important that I have found out the city has a very good track record of working with FEMA on these particular issues. In fact, we as a city have achieved the highest rating, a Class 5 rating when it comes to FEMA's community rating system. So that's very significant. And because of that, Nancy and her staff are willing to come out and provide technical assistance with our staff, as well as guidance as it relates to completing this action plan. So again, the city has a very good track record. We don't want to do anything to taint that in any way possible. I think there's another important element here when it comes to what we've done in the past. Because we've had this high rating, 15,000 people who hold policies have received a discount of 25% on their premiums in the floodplain zone. So that's very significant. We don't want to jeopardize that at all. So again, we are going to do everything that we can to correct that immediately. Today is a very important step for us. We want to create a swift action, and we want to be very transparent in everything that we do. So again, let me just summarize 3 things. This is very serious in terms of where we are. I talked to Congresswoman Matsui, and we are both in line with these 3 things. It is very serious. Number 2, this cannot happen again. And number 3, we must take action to correct the mistakes and violations that we made in the past. I'd like Nancy maybe to come up for a few moments and share your perspective or some of the elements in the letter that you think are important. And then the rest of us are here to really answer questions that you folks may have. So Nancy.
Well, thank you, Mayor, and thank you for inviting me to participate today. As the Mayor said, FEMA has enjoyed a very strong partnership with the city, certainly because of their commitment not only to flood control but to floodplain management. And it's because of that that we're confident that these violations, and they are violations of both the city ordinance and of FEMA's federal regulations, that the city will swiftly, as they have in notification of this problem, they have really been swift in letting us know what happened. They've been responsive in providing us whatever information we have required, and they've been transparent through the whole process. And it's because of that commitment and the mayor's leadership, along with the city manager, that we're confident that within 60 days we will have a corrective action plan that we can all move forward. I think that the situation is not representative of the city's past performance. As a matter of fact, about 2 years ago, we monitored the city's systems and programs and policies on this very issue, and they received glowing comments and considerations on the systems that they have in place. So again, I think that given the violations that have happened, the swiftness in which the mayor has worked with FEMA and his staff have worked with FEMA through this process of review and researching what exactly happened and the way to move forward, that we're confident that we can move forward swiftly. Thank you.
All right, thanks. Any questions?
Yeah, Nancy, could you go in a little bit more detail on the 3 corrective actions the city needs to take here?
Well, there's the options to the city. The corrective action plan needs to develop and talk about the remediation of the violations that the city determines is most viable for the city. The three examples that the mayor given are only three of a plethora of options that the city have. And the city needs to evaluate each and every one of those options based on their authorities, budget consideration, all of those things that the city needs to evaluate the options. And once that happens, along with our staff, we're confident that we can move through with whatever option is the best for the city.
The city also said, the city also said that it wanted to continue to build out the houses that were remaining, the half-constructed homes. Does FEMA have a position on that, or has FEMA told the city whether or not?
That'll be part of the corrective action plan.
Okay.
What is in the letter is that to allow the construction to continue under the flood zone that they're in now is not acceptable, and that's what they will be working through.
And this may be a question for the mayor or the city manager. It seems the city's already doing some of the things here, the stop work orders and that other thing. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
Can you specifically which things is the city doing right now?
At this point, the construction has stopped on many of the houses, and we're holding that whole work in advance at this point.
Are there any of those 35 homes that work has been completed and have been purchased and people have moved into, and if so, what's going to happen to them?
At this point, there are about 6 to 8 of the homes that have been occupied of the 35 homes. And that'll be part of the corrective action plans of how we're going to deal with that in the future.
Nancy, what would you think would happen to the people, the 6 to 8 families living in those homes? Would they have to leave?
I don't think I should speculate on that. I think there are a plethora of options to the city to deal with the homes that are occupied right now. And again, that will be part of the review and evaluation of all the options to the city. And I'm sure the staff will make a sound recommendation to the mayor, and then we'll go from there.
Well, in your letter, you said you're going to review after 60 days the city's plan, and you said you're confident today that it will meet the requirements. But you also say in your letter that there are some very severe consequences if it does not meet. Can you go into detail of what could happen if you're not satisfied with the plan that the city comes up with?
Sure. Well, we would, if we heard nothing from the city, which that's already not the case because we've met a couple of times and our staffs are going to start meeting this afternoon on the corrective action plan. But letters that, the letter like that went out to the city have gone to other communities. And in some communities, they have not responded. So if we absolutely heard nothing from a community, then we would send them another letter requiring them to respond to our initial letter in 30 days. At that point, if we still heard nothing, then we would notify them that in about 90 days we could move to probation. But again, I am fully confident that we won't get there in this situation.
Probation would have what impact on flood insurance rates in the city?
I may ask our program expert here to talk about the options that
You're
we're
not.
Well, the rates wouldn't change, but there's a $50 surcharge that is imposed on every policy while a community is under probation. It's an annual $50 surcharge.
So not just people in Natomas, but people throughout the city would pay this $50 surcharge?
Correct. Every policy that's written under the City of Sacramento's community identification number would feel a $50 surcharge.
And can you please state your name and job title?
Cynthia McKenzie, I'm a senior National Flood Insurance Program planner.
Ms. Ward, if the folks who have moved into their homes are still living there after the 60 days, or if that's, but in terms of the plan that they have to, do they need to be addressed? Can they stay in the houses?
Absolutely. The homes that are occupied right now, will remain that way until the corrective action plan is developed and that we all adopt whatever options that we move forward on. So there's nothing that happens to those occupants. Right
Well, after the creative action plan, might that include them moving or the city paying for them to move or
Again,
like
there
that?
are so many variables and so many options that are available to the city. It's hard to really say what the city's option that they choose to move forward will be. And it might be a collective of several options to move forward. So it's really hard to say.
I guess I just mean when it's all said and done, if those folks are still living in their homes, will that be acceptable to FEMA?
I think to be clear, let's take a step back. I think the important thing to note here is that the City of Sacramento has a very good reputation when it comes to working with FEMA and dealing with these issues, number one. Number two, we made a mistake and we're in violation. And we have 60 days to correct all those mistakes.